And welcome back to the Global Gratitude Summit. I'm Luann Saraga-Walters.
And I'm Sharon Saraga-Walters.
Today is about loving your job, or if you're getting ready to go into retirement, those pleasant years that might be a little intimidating. We're talking with an expert who's going to be speaking with us about gratitude at both, how to love your job and also how to retire with gratitude. So Kerry Hannon is a nationally recognized expert and strategist on career transitions, personal finance, entrepreneurship, and retirement. She's a frequent TV and radio commentator and has appeared as a career and financial expert on the Dr. Phil Show, ABC, CBS, CNBC, NBC Nightly News, NPR, and PBS, and now the Global Gratitude Summit. Kerry is currently a columnist and regular contributor to the New York Times, AARP's work and jobs expert, contributing editor and second verse columnist at Forbes, and the PBS website nextavenue.org, expert and columnist on personal finance and entrepreneurship for boomer women. She joins us to talk about employing gratitude to grow to love your job and prepare for retirement. Welcome, Kerry. Thanks for being with us.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thank you.
This is the second time we've had the opportunity to interview you. One other time was a few years ago upon your visit to Florida with, I think it was Encore Tampa Bay and AARP Florida getting together for a joint conference. You really impressed us then with your, not only your knowledge, which is why you are the career strategist and expert, but also the way you look at life. You know, it's really inspirational. So you were you didn't take a second thought, especially when we knew about something that we're going to start right off the bat with, something that you call your fitness program. So Sharon, why don't you go for that?
Yes, I love that. So Kerry, can you tell us a little bit about your fitness program?
What is that?
Well, I love Kerry's fitness program, and it applies to lots of things in your life. It's not just if you're changing careers or transitioning into retirement, and it has three parts. Number one is you have to get financially fit. All right, don't get scared, but it's really important because when you are financially fit, you're nimble and you're able to accept opportunities that maybe you couldn't in the past. And so what I encourage people to do is do a budget. You know, look at where you can trim back. How can you get lean and mean? Can you pay down some debts? Can you maybe refinance your home or move to something smaller, which is often a really great thing, depending on your age, if the kids are launched or whatever it may be. But getting financially fit is key. It really opens the doors to you. Number two is to get physically fit. All right. And I'm not saying you've got to bench press and run fast miles or what have you. But when you are physically fit, you give off this energy, this vibe, this positivity, and people want to be around you. And you kind of have this sense of possibility about you. And I believe that it is anything as simple as I walk my dog. So I walk my dog, a couple miles a day, whatever suits you. If you want to swim, if you want to do some sort of light workout, but make it part of your regime. A couple times a week, do something, because when you're physically fit, you have that energy. You're up for the job if it's something. You have the stamina. And most importantly, you're optimistic. It really makes you feel good. And people can't identify what it is. They'll say, oh, a lot of women particularly will say to me who are looking for jobs, they'll say, oh, should I get a facelift or should I get Botox or dye my hair? And I'm like, no, get physically fit. This will really help you. People won't know what it is, but it is. And the third thing is you need to get spiritually fit. And I don't mean woo-woo religion or anything there. I'm talking about something as simple as a meditation practice, Tai Chi, yoga, whatever you can do to find ballast in your life, because there's a lot of stressors going on for us at this stage in our life. And so if you can find a place that's your space to calm down, to kind of find that centering place, that's going to be critical.
I just want to step in a little bit on that. I've been in the fitness world for my whole life, and I love what you said here. And it's truly, it's so much balance of those things that you added. And with the financial, it's really good because a lot of times people don't go there with the financial. They get the spiritual sometimes and the physical, but really great that adding the financial to that.
Oh, thanks. Because none of us really want to think about the money piece. That's the toughie.
Yeah.
Well, so we're going to transition then into that aspect of career transition, I guess, transition to a transition. And that is getting financially fit, physically fit, spiritually fit. That's a process, as is finding that next best thing. There are a lot of people who are over 50 who are in transition, trying to find something. And it may be that they're going towards their last big hurrah before retirement, or they're looking for a means to slow down, go into something else or they just have to find another job. So speak a little bit about that. How for people who are currently in a job and they know that maybe in the future they may need to transition out of it, how do they get used to where they are in order to then prepare for where they are going to? In other words, how can you be happy with where you are before the need to move out? Do you always have to get another job? I guess would be the basis of my question.
Oh gosh, that's a good one. So are we thinking of people mostly in their 50s?
50s, maybe 60s.
Okay, so moving forward from 50.
Right.
So this is really an important time in our lives, because frequently, you reach this point, and I've traveled around the country and interviewed, hundreds of people actually who have done career transitions. And the point is, this is a time that you've sort of done your primary linear career. So something for 20 plus years, 20, 30 years. And, often this is a stage of life where, the big things are behind us, the big ticket items. Maybe you've, paid down your mortgage. Maybe the kids are launched. Maybe you've achieved those goals that you would set out for yourself initially for your career. And it could also be, and you both know this, it's a time in life where we start to lose people we love around us, or we have health crises ourselves. And you start saying, what's this all about? Is this what I should be doing? Is there something more for me? And we get restless. And often you may even be quite bored with your job in a way, and we can get into that a little more, because you have achieved those goals and maybe you're not getting promoted as quickly as you once were, or the new opportunities are coming to you. So there's this sense of, what should I do, and dissatisfaction with our lives, and kind of what should we be doing now? So what I encourage people to do is, first, as you alluded to, don't freak out. Don't have to make any rash moves. Go slow. Any kind of great transition takes time. So in order to be happy where you are right now, look around you. There are things you love about your job that you've always loved about your job. You just may have forgotten them. And this weaves into your gratitude business. This is where we can sit down and make a list. What are some things I really like about my job? It might be the person who sits at the desk next to you. It could be, the opportunity to travel or do things in your job. But think about the elements of your job that make you happy. And I often, even today, and I love my job, trust me, I come home and before I go to bed, in my head, I think about what is it today about my work that really made me happy. And that sense, that keeps you going. So don't get in the gloom about where you are today. There are things that you love, and ways to improve falling back in love with your job again, not just shoving your job. And I'll go into that a bit more. But in terms of if you want to make a transition to something new, I really encourage you, one, go slow, no rash moves. Do that soul searching. What is it that you'd really like to do? And start, take a class. Talk to somebody who does that kind of work. Maybe you can job shadow them. Maybe you can apprentice and volunteer and see if it's something that you'd really like to do, because sometimes we dream about something that would be fantastic, but when you're actually doing it, trust me, it's not dreamy. So, those are some ways to do it. And again, that lean and mean financial fitness is going to weave into that as well, because that will open the door to opportunities for you.
You actually touched on, you're doing a great segue into Sharon's next question, because I love the concept of making a list of, I think you said, elements that make you happy, which is cool. So Go ahead, ask your. Yeah.
So Kerry, as part of your fitness program, how can we express gratitude in our work?
Oh, this is fabulous. We all forget to do this. Tell somebody that they did a great job. Tell a colleague, hey, I love that presentation you did this morning. We often forget to turn around and compliment somebody at work, because we're so in our own heads about, and insecure perhaps, or, thinking about what we're doing and how people are seeing us. Reach out and look around you, because even if you're having a crummy day at work, for example, somebody else is not having a crummy day. And if they are not having a crummy day, say, yay, good for you. I love that. You know what's exciting about that as you both know this, you feel better because you've done that. And they feel better because you've done that. It's a two-way street. And it really, it will definitely pick up your spirits and the person who you compliment.
And that kind of ties in with your spiritual fitness, because you're actually stepping out and doing something for others as well in that expression of gratitude, which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
So
it really works, doesn't it?
yeah, you've tied that into the work. You know, I want to go back to that list because it just keeps resonating with me. Elements that make you happy in a job is actually what we don't focus on when we're unhappy in a job. We tend to make a list of all the things that are wrong and thinking, and I'm going to speak as somebody who has had many job transitions in my life. And I know from experience that when I'm looking to that grass is always greener on the other side kind of thing, I'm looking over there going, there's nothing that I'll make a list of over there that's wrong, right? It's kind of like that next best thing is the best thing, as opposed to this one, which used to be the next best thing. And all of a sudden it's not anymore. So talk a little bit more about that aspect of changing the mentality of where you are. Because I think that's a lot of people can't necessarily find another job right now. So what are the elements that they can do to really reach into? And I like, that list being one of them. How can they really hang their hat on, how do I raise my job satisfaction even a little bit so that I can keep going?
Yeah, this is great because frankly, not everyone is hardwired to make a big career transition. And frankly, it is, even though the job market may be strong, it's still much harder to get a job when you're over 50 than when you're younger. So that's a fact. So here's what you need to do. Honestly, when I talk to people who say, oh, I'm miserable at work, I really don't like my job. You know what it is? If you really drill down, they're bored. It's boredom. It's not that they have a lousy boss, that their work is really bored. It's because they're bored. So the very best thing you can do to get started, to get out of your rut, is to learn something new. Stay abreast of your field, but sign up for a course, even if it's not related to your job. Take a course in making jewelry if you want to. I don't care what it is, but the whole process of learning, it just stimulates your brain changes. There's something about it that excites us again. We start looking at the world in a different way. So the first thing you can do is learn something new. The second thing is, I find that one thing that makes them love their job is the mission of the business. It is, what work, whether it's a nonprofit or for-profit, it's what the company stands for. It's what their employer does that they're proud of. So often, look around you. There's something about your company that really makes you feel good that they're making a difference in the world. So there's a sense of a pride in the mission of the business. The other things you can do, it comes right back to what you were just saying before, volunteer. See if there's something within the company, and there usually is. You can talk to your HR department about this, that groups of employees get together to volunteer for a cause. And often your boss might be doing right alongside you. So it's a great way to do something together for others. And it's part of the workplace, but it's not your job. But again, it gets you excited about work again. And one other thing, because I know we'll want to move on to some other things, but I like the idea of having a positive image in your office. So one thing you can do in just your workspace alone is declutter. First of all, I know that gets a lot of buzz these days, but truthfully, if you can declutter your office, and I'm not saying mine is a great example, but once you start doing that, you're making decisions. I value this, I don't value that. And that's a great way to start thinking about your work world and your life. What do you value? What don't you? Let's move along. Let's clear out some space for the value things. And when you put an image in your office, I often have a photograph of the Blue Ridge Mountains because I love the mountains in Virginia. But I can turn away from my computer and I can look at that and I feel better. I get relaxed. So whether it's a vision board, whether it's a photograph that reminds you of something that's your happy place, do that. It gives you a couple of minutes of respite during the day. Close your eyes if that does it, but definitely there are ways within your workspace to give you that sort of, I'm okay, it's okay.
So Kerry, that is really great what you were saying. And what kept coming to my mind as you were sharing that, it sounds like all that people, what you were sharing was it's an inside job. It's an inward job from your examples of what you were saying, that we really need to go inward, and it really is about us inside the person.
It's so true. I mean, and it sounds pop psychology-ish, but we're the only ones that can make ourselves happy. Nobody else from the boss, your colleagues, your coworkers, whatever it is, it's up to you. You make that decision whether you're going to be happy or not happy, and make that choice and make it work for you. And there are ways. One other thing I didn't throw in there too is, studies have shown that people who laugh more at work or smile more at work are more engaged in their job. So, okay, look around you, smile at somebody that you haven't in the past, look at somebody in the elevator. I don't care what it is, but show some happiness, because a good laugh does a lot to make our world a little brighter.
That's awesome. I love all of these tips and more, which I have this book, so I wanted to share it with everybody. Kerry has written many books. How many books have you written?
Oh my gosh, a dozen, and I'm writing my 13th right now.
Awesome. The lucky 13. But this one in particular is exactly what we're just talking about. Love your job. And it was through AARP, but this is all the tips, and she's got so many more in here, the new rules for career happiness. And like Sharon said, that inside stuff, but it's really about how can we become empowered to take control of our viewpoint within our workspace, which is cool. And the big portion of that is taking the opportunity to see what's working, and that's part of the gratitude aspect. So let's shift into then maybe a little bit going towards retirement, that encore job, and talking about, that can be a scary thing, because people are thinking, wow, maybe I don't need a full-time job, but I might need a part-time job, or I might need to do a little bit of something, but do I have the training for it? Do people have to go through training? Do they that alone can seem like a very huge thing to do, and here you are trying to wrap it up so that you can have a pleasant retirement. Talk about that a little bit, Kerry. What do people need to do to prepare?
It's so individual. Some people, if you think about it, if you're 50 or 55, you could have another 15, 20 years of doing something, a whole second career. So if you think in those terms, it certainly might be worth going back. It raises the question of what you can do and what you want to do. And so you could go back to a full degree program if you wanted to, if you have the, sort of financial wherewithal to do so. And you have that idea of where that's going to pay off for you and what that purpose is. So that's definitely an option, but it's time consuming and can be expensive. So I tell people, you do not necessarily have to jump into a full program. And again, it's always good to start picking one class at a time, just to test the waters, make sure it really interests you, and so on and so forth. But there are some great certificate programs out there. There's some great online opportunities, so you don't necessarily have to go relocate somewhere to study. And I think you might know a little bit about that. But it's kind of the whole idea that there are ways to get that education. But here's the point. Lifelong learning is non-negotiable. So regardless of what you're going to choose to do in this next chapter of your life, you're going to have to add some new skills. You're going to have to stay sharp. So you can't be placing and expect that what you already know is going to move you forward into the next chapter.
But one of the things that can be confronting and challenging for people is a sense that because they are older, they may not be hireable. I recently saw, and I'm going to tie these two together and then just let you take off with it because you're so good at discerning things. I recently saw that you had addressed ageism in the workplace and in potential lack of being able to get the same recognition during an interview because of age. How can you address that for people who are concerned that that might be an issue?
Oh my gosh, this is huge. I mean, ageism is alive and well in the workplace, and it's not only if you're over 50, it actually goes down a little bit younger than that as well. So, you can't sugarcoat this. This is a fact. I have heard so many people say they'll go into for an interview and it's as if the hiring manager sees their expiration date. I mean, it's like, okay, they've done you the courtesy of the interview, but frankly, they really are going younger. So this is something that's important, and we need to pay attention to. We need to fight back. It's not right. It's against the law. There are all kinds of different things. But here's the thing. it's real, but there are things you can do. So I encourage people, I'm going to sound like a broken record. Number one, people do judge a book by its cover. So yeah, sounds superficial. It is superficial. It is true. So if you can, I'm not suggesting the Botox and the hair dyeing. What I'm saying is get physically fit. Okay. So if you can go in and you give off that vibe, that energy, that's going to help you, because what hiring managers worry is that you don't have the stamina, that you're not up for the job. Okay, bingo, check that one off the list. You're going to show them that you in fact do. Number two, they worry that you're not going to play well with the other children. And what I mean by that is that you're not going to like working for a younger boss. So think about that. Are you going to be comfortable, reporting to someone who's your daughter's age or your son's age? Get over it. If that's going to be your problem, figure it out, because you're going to need to go in there and talk about how you've worked with younger people in the past and how this has been a great opportunity on both sides for mentoring or whatever it might be. They worry that you are not up to date with technology, and that's quite possible. And this, again, is non-negotiable. So you need to have a LinkedIn profile. You need to be on social media to a certain extent. You have got to be comfortable here. So take some classes if you're not. Community colleges offer all kinds of ways that you can get sort of, and I admit, sometimes I have some problems myself. I just call up my 20-something nieces and say, help, but whatever, get comfortable with technology. They're going to worry, they're going to want to know that. They want to know that you are, that they worry that you're expensive. And that's quite possible. So again, if we can circle back, and I can't tell you how many older workers are insulted by the salaries that they're offered. And so there are ways around that. First of all, again, if you have your skills up to date, you have some arguing points, negotiating points of why you should be valued at that. But again, look at the whole package. Don't get stuck on the salary or on the title. Let your ego get out of the way a little bit. If you are financially fit and you have that nimbleness, okay, you have the opportunity to take on jobs that may not pay what you made in your previous job, but you can negotiate for other things. Maybe there's more vacation. Maybe this is something we all want at this age. Flexibility. Can I work from home a little bit? Can I, just having a sense of autonomy and having control of your own time can really help you fight back on that. So those are just a couple of things that you can do.
I love that. You talked about, we heard you speak before too about your LinkedIn profile, and you're an expert on that as well. And you just mentioned if you have your skills up to date. And I think that there's something that is sometimes off-putting about us taking that inward look to say, what are my skills? What are my strengths? What's my experience? What do I bring to the table? Because we're taught not to trumpet, we're taught modesty, and yet at the same time we need to be able to put that in our CV, in our resume, in our LinkedIn profile to say, this is what I have. I've got 35, 40 years of experience doing XYZ. I've got, the ability to do this skill set, and I understand this software, and I know this, or whatever those skills are. But that includes personal skills, because there are a lot of things that you learn on the job. For example, I know so many things now that I didn't know when I was in my 20s, just about job relationships. So how does somebody actually take a look at their personal inventory and everything that they bring to the table?
Yeah, it is really hard to brag on ourselves, isn't it? I mean, gosh, it really is quite difficult. And so it's critical that you do so. And one way to do it is to, I'm going to circle back to what I said before, when you don't know what it is you want to do. Sometimes it helps to ask people around you. And I'm a big fan of career coaching as well. If you can find a great career coach to work with, even for a couple of sessions, it's an unbiased person coming in and looking fresh at your skills, what you have done, and helping you identify some of those things. But the other piece I was going to circle back to is, if you don't have, access to a coach, and or you can ask friends and so forth who they might work with. Ask friends. I mean, or colleagues, people you've worked with, to remind you of what some of those skills are. It might even be, an old boss that you worked with in the past. What were some of the things that it's gonna, not everyone can do this, but if there's a way you can help others see you, then it becomes easier for you to use those words, use their language, because you're saying, I've often been, my last boss told me I was this, that I was a great communicator, or I was, my written presentations were amazing, or, whatever it is. You can highlight your skills, but put it into somebody else's words if that makes you more comfortable. I'm also a big believer in the LinkedIn profile has kind of revolutionized the way our resumes should look. So think about your paper resume a little bit like your LinkedIn one, whereas you highlight your skills up top. So when someone looks at your resume, they don't see this, I call it the obituary of your career. You really want to just you want to highlight your skills, boom, right at the top. This is what I'm good at. And this is why this is why I can do the job. Because it's all about what you can do for the employer, not what they can do for you. So it's how can those skills help them perform what they need to have performed at their business better, and execute their goals, not your goals. But I think look at, and that actually your LinkedIn profile gives you a chance to use your voice, that they can hear you. It's not flat and one-dimensional. You can put videos, you can put audio clips of yourself, of PowerPoint presentations, which are a little boring, but you can at least get stuff up there to show what you do. You can do your song and dance. And so that's really important, to highlight your skills. And it is hard to do, but you've got to do it.
So in the perspective of the Global Gratitude Summit, I'm going to suggest that those skills that are up top on your CV, resume, LinkedIn profile, they could be your professional gratitude list of the things I'm grateful that I have the ability to do, because that's your unique ID, which is really cool.
That's sweet. I like that. That's a great way to turn it around. Yeah.
Your professional gratitude stamp. This is what I bring to the job. This is what I'm grateful for bringing. Sharon, why don't you move us into our next question?
So tell us about the hover method.
Well, this is really fun. Hover, we all love acronyms, so let's go with that. All right. So if you step up to my hover method, what it stands for is a hope. H is hope. And I'll circle back to these again. O is optimism. V is value. E is enthusiasm. And R is resilience. All right, so we've set this stage a little bit there. So when I talk about hope, it is, it kind of ties in a little bit with what you're talking about with gratitude and so forth. It's that you have this inner sense that things are going to be okay, that you have this sort of inner confidence that the world is not out to get you. So you have this feeling of hope. And if you can have that, that's a good starting point in order to make any kind of transition, whether it's with your career or your personal life. It really works. When you're optimistic, the O for optimism, this is really gratitude, because I think optimism flows from gratitude. When you are, wishing somebody else well, when you are smiling and having a laugh with a colleague, when you are giving back in that way, it brings this sense of optimism. And when people are optimism, it ties in with that feeling of hope. Again, you come across with more energy and more strength. Mm-hmm. And then when we move forward to V, value, how we value ourselves. If you don't value yourself, nobody is going to value you. So you absolutely have to take that time to really figure out, why do I value myself? Let's go back to those skills we were just talking about. All right. I'm really good at this. I'm really good at that. I have these skills, and a great way to shine those up is to go add some education, learn something new, brush up those skills, add a skill. That gives you this sense of value. Hey, I've got this now in my pocket, and I can bring this to you, and I can bring that to me. So when you value yourself, that gives you another lift up. The E for enthusiasm, okay, enough said. When you're enthusiastic, people want to be around you. They want you part of their team. They want to play with you, okay? So be enthusiastic. And resilience, all right, that's a little tougher, but we all know when you're down, you got to get back up. So, we've done this our whole lives. We've proven it to ourselves again and again and again that we can have setbacks and we recover. And frankly, when you look back, you go, I benefited from that. I learned something from that experience. So that's my kind of hover method in a nutshell.
Wow.
It's great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderful. It's a wonderful means of helping you identify the complete package of presentation. How do I come into this situation? How do I reframe my mind from that mindfulness standpoint of being present for this situation? And so you cover them all. Great acronym.
Yeah.
You told a story once too, and we're about to move into our final question because we're almost at time. But you told a story once about every morning walking your dog. Dog. One dog or two?
Just one.
Dog.
My road manager. Yeah.
And yes, and how you gained insight from your dog's attitude toward life.
Well, the funny thing, you guys, if anyone picks up that Love Your Job book, they'll see that Xena is the introduction. That's my dog's name. Because, everything I learned about loving my job, I learned from my dog. So that's like by far, I think the most read thing in that book. But here's the thing about Xena is incredible. And she gets up every morning thrilled. I mean, she is just thrilled because she's going to have breakfast. And then after she has breakfast, off she goes on this walk that's everything's as if she's never seen it before. It's like, oh my gosh, there's a squirrel. Or, there's a pond. I can't believe I get to swim. And she's never been swimming before. So, I mean, this sense of possibility in her world is endless, and it can be repeated every day because every day is brand new to her. And I take her with me we'll go back to, I take her on road trips with me all the time. And she jumps in the car faster than I can get in the car. So this sense of what's next? Where am I going? Let's go somewhere. That's something that we all should encompass and incorporate, into our own lives is what's next? What's the adventure? This curiosity, this excitement about the world. And she loves to meet new dogs. Oh my word. She is so social. And so instead of saying I'd be like, oh, I'm just walking. I just need to be in my own head. She's like, hey, there's another dog over there. Let's go find out what they're doing. And so maybe that's a good lesson for all of us to reach out and see what we can learn from other people and engage and go back to what we talked about earlier in our conversation about, feeding off the energy of others and the good things that other people are doing.
Well, we're at the point, Kerry, where it's time for us to ask you our final question. And I'm going to turn that over to Sharon.
So, Kerry, how would you summarize your personal definition of gratitude?
I would say, that feeling of gratitude for me is when I feel this calmness inside me. In the work I do, I feel like there are a lot of times people are all pulling different parts. Everyone wants a piece of me to do something, and I want to do all of it, and I don't know how to say no to it. And so I'm pulled in lots of directions, and I run on a lot of different pistons. And so when I have that chance, and I try to do this at the end of most days, is to take that breath and to think back through the interactions I had during each day. I get that, I go, oh yeah, that was really great. Wasn't that fun? Even if I just interacted with somebody online, that I hadn't seen in a long time. Wow, that was really fun. And that sense of gratitude, Sharon, is what makes me feel calmer inside. It's like I breathe easier and I can go to sleep. I quiet my mind down by remembering how, that gives me that feeling of just slowing it down.
That's awesome.
I love that.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Well, Kerry Hannon, such a joy. We're so honored to have known you for the last several years, and just for you coming on the Global Gratitude Summit. Thank you for the work that you do. You are helping hundreds of thousands, and we have so many boomers now too. And then we are also in that coming up near, and your advice is precious because you are assuaging a lot of anxiety. You're helping point people in a direction which is kind of like this, to help give them the tools they need to become empowered to make the life transitions that they need to do. So thank you for the work that you're dedicated to doing in all of the different aspects that you do it. It's just been an honor to have you on the show.
Yes, I mean, thank you for all that you are doing. I love your fitness program. I love all the work that you're doing for the boomers. And, you know, as she said, it's our age and it's really needed. And thank you for bringing balance to our lives and really having us look at a lot of different things in our life. Thank you.
And your enthusiasm.
Well, thank you both. And I say, here's to dogs. You know?
Love it. Love it.
Take good care. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.